Hello and welcome to It's About Time. I'm your host, Caleb Carter, and this is the first episode of the new year. So what I want you to do right now is go grab your uncles, go grab your aunties, your nieces, your nephews, your dad, your mom, whoever. Go tell them that It's About Time is back on. KPVU-TV is back in full effect. And what better way to start than the two top dogs on this campus when it comes to men? I'm talking about Mr. Prairie View himself, Caleb Leeper, and the SGA president, Mr. Nathaniel Hall. But we got more with those guys after this commercial break. Stay tuned. This is It's About Time. Hello and welcome back to It's About Time. My name again is Caleb Carter, and joining me today we have the SGA president, Mr. Nathaniel Hall, and Mr. Prairie View himself, Mr. Caleb Leeper. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm good. Making it for sure.
That's good. That's good. First of all, I want to say thank you to you guys both joining the show. And when this show was given to me by our director, what she told me was that, you know, this is the more male-oriented show where we want to hit on those male topics and talk about men on campus. So it was kind of a no-brainer on who I wanted to get for this first episode of this new semester. I mean, we have Mr. Prairie View and the SGA president, two both black men on this campus. So my first question to you guys would be, and I guess, Nate, we can start with you, is what made you take up on this role of SGA president?
I mean, honestly, it wasn't really anything that really was something that I came into school dreaming about. It was more so I first got to Prairie View as a freshman, and there were things I wanted to see change, but I wasn't ready to just hop into that student leader lifestyle. And, you know, I just involved myself naturally and got to know different people. But as I learned a little bit more about SGA, I decided to run for class president.
Mm-hmm.
I was sophomore class president and then junior class president. And I worked alongside Caleb for both of those years while he was Mr. Sophomore and Mr. Junior. But learning the inner workings of being a class president and starting to learn the operations of the university from an administrative perspective and everything else of that nature helped me to realize that I could accomplish a lot as SGA president, and being able to understand exactly what it was that I was trying to accomplish during my tenure at Prairie View. So, you know, I didn't always know that this was the route that I was going to take, but I'm glad I took it, and I'm definitely appreciative for the people voting me into this position.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we all glad that you are our student body president, and I think that's pretty interesting that you guys have been working together since you said sophomore year.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Now, Caleb, before I get to you, you had actually, on your journey to becoming Mr. Prairie View, I saw on social media that you posted a video of you kind of like documenting your journey up until that day where the elections was had. So I kind of want to show that video now to our audience and take them on that journey alongside of you.
All right, y'all. So this is day one of rehearsal. I just got to the main campus from nursing school. This was week 2 of rehearsal. We did introductions. I'm not doing nothing, bro. Like, I have to make sure my priorities are straight like this whole time. Everything that I do, God will get the glory out of. I have nothing to lose, bro. Like, everything is an experience, and what God has for me is going to be for me. It's 5 days. And we just learned this opening number. We already done been in 3-hour rehearsal, but if you want it, you better go and get it. And I'm gonna get it done. You hear me? Y'all not know it's pageant day?
Man, I don't know about the rest of y'all. Nate, I don't know about you, but I don't know. I just feel like I need to run through a brick wall water by now. I mean, that's motivation at its highest peak. And Caleb, to be honest, we all have to appreciate the seriousness that you brought to running for Mr. Prairie View as it is. But talk about how it is on the other side of election. Now that you have the position, how is it now for you?
I would say that it has been great overall. I think coming into this position, you don't really know what to expect. And I've been in previous positions such as Mr. Sophomore and Mr. Junior, but they're not on the same level as Mr. Prairie View. When you become Mr. Prairie View, it's like there's a new responsibility that's on your head, and there's new duties that you now have to take care of, and you are literally one of the faces of the university. So one of the things that I guess I kind of had to adjust to is that everybody is watching you, not necessarily in a bad way, but you just have to be cognizant. Like, I'm in this position, I'm representing the university, and not only the university, but the male class and the male population on campus. I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to always make sure I'm doing right and just representing not only myself as an individual, but Mr. Prairie View as well in the title.
Definitely, and I think that was an interesting point, talking about how it's kind of all eyes on you at this point, and that kind of brings me back to you, Nate, because I remember last year when we had our previous SGA president, and some things happened at Prairie View that didn't bring such of a favorable look. And fast forward to this year, when it came to like the ticket sales and things like that, we had some type of incidents where it may not have went the way that it should have. But I can't imagine being in your position, being, all people see is what went wrong. They don't see the process behind that. So you guys get called out. SGA is this, CAB is this, whatever. So how is that kind of dealing with that scrutiny, knowing that everybody's looking towards you when things go wrong?
It's very interesting. I feel like I don't know. I think that this year has just been very dramatic across the board.
Yeah.
But I personally don't think that the scrutiny or even just the issues have been as relevant as they were last school year, fortunately enough. But I mean, it's definitely, it can be tiring sometimes, but I have to realize, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that I handle whatever situations come my way as amicably as possible and the best outcome of everybody, not just the students. I think the hardest part about this position is realizing that you can't get everything that you want. The students can't get everything that they want either. It's more so understanding how to work with administration to give students as much as what they want as possible. And now that I've kind of got an understanding of that, I think that's what makes us the most successful.
Yeah, and to that point about students not being able to get everything that they want, how hard has it been for you, or easy has it been for you to kind of communicate that to the students, right? Because I mean, we can hear that, right? But when you're going through it, it's kind of like, okay, administrating ain't doing us right. Why? You know what I'm saying? But you're kind of that voice, that mediator in between administration and the student body. So how is that, just kind of mediating between the two?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've been trying to do and I still need to really work on is communicating what I hear from administration and what they share with me. As you said, I'm the liaison between the two, so they're more prone to share a lot of things with me, but they still want these things to be hush hush all the time.
Yeah.
To me, it's like there's no point in me reserving that information or not sharing it with the student body, especially when it pertains to issues that are involving them, or whatever the case may be. Even like most recently with the water heating issue in phase 3 and 6 and things like that. Like, I wanted to make sure I put out an update so students understood what was going on, why it was going on, how soon we get that issue fixed, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. Just trying to make sure that the student body is aware of everything, whether it's something, positive or negative, but at least trying to put that out. Even with us putting out, I don't know, just like with the HERE grant, that was rough. That was a little tricky, but you know what I'm saying? That was information that was given directly to me and requested of me to share with the student body. Whether or not the student body was happy about how it came out, I can't control that. But it's just those things we have to live with from time to time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna blame you because you just told me the story, but man, I applied for that HERE grant. I was like, got the email saying, this may not have been for you. Man, that kind of ruined my morning, Caleb. I don't know. But Caleb, I want to come back to you real quick before we go to commercial. Because when we see Mr. PV, we see you guys you and Miss PV, we see you guys at the football games, at the basketball games, but it's not just waving hands and saying hello. So talk a little bit about, your responsibilities as Mr. PV.
All right. So, along with attending games and going to university events, Mr. and Miss Prairie View are both required to have 3 events each semester. So 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. And these events can be anything from social events, platform-related events, whatever you're wanting to see be accomplished within your role and within your reign within that year. So some of the things that I have done were like a package giveaway, kind of like care packages for college students. I started an all-male series just to help the men of Prairie View and that are on campus and just talk to them and get back to them, speak life back into them. Just different events like with the nursing school. I'm currently in the process of creating a nursing mentorship organization with a few of my friends on campus. I want to shout out them, Amani Clark, Justin Morrow, Shania Polk. We've all been collaborating on trying to bridge the gap between the main campus and the nursing campus because there is a gap between
definitely
on those universities and those campuses. So those are some of the things that I've wanted to see and have accomplished for this year.
I mean, that's real good, especially that nursing campus thing, because sometimes we just look at it as the main campus and we're the only thing that Prairie View has to offer. But it's a whole nother nursing campus, top of the line nursing campus at that, down there in Houston. So I mean, we can definitely appreciate that. And you mentioned the male series that you've been doing, and I kind of want to get to that because as men, you guys are the leaders on this campus. So I want to talk about a little bit more about that, setting the example for men and PV men in general. And stay tuned. It's about time. About to go to commercial, pay some few bills. Stay there. Welcome back to It's About Time. I'm again your host, Caleb Carter, and still with me, the SGA president, Mr. Nathaniel Hall, and Mr. PV, Caleb Leeper. Thank you guys again for joining us. But I want to get to men on campus and the PV man. See, because I think we all go through this, not just men, but women also. When we tell somebody that we go to PV, I don't know about y'all, but even when I tell my family members, they say, "Oh, well, you know what happened down there at PV? What y'all got going on down there?" It's kind of a negative stigma that comes with that. So I want y'all to talk a little bit about y'all experiences, about the PV man and what you've heard, and then we'll get to what we can mold the PV man into.
Okay.
Whichever first.
All right. In regarding the image of the PV man, I think it all starts whenever we're freshmen here on campus. So I'm pretty sure Nate and I both, we have seen individuals and males come through this campus who, in our freshman year, we looked up to them, and because of who they were and because how they carried themselves, with professionalism, with poise, it made us want to step into the roles that we're wanting to do now. And so I think it all starts as soon as we get to Prairie View's campus. And if we can stand in our positions as males and represent Prairie View in its entirety, the student body, and being the student liaisons between the student body and administration, I think when people see that and they see how you carry yourself and they see that if somebody else is doing it or if another male is doing it, then I can do it too. That's what impacts the image of the Prairie View man, and it inspires people and inspires males to be able to say, well, hey, I see this guy doing it. I think I want to do that as well. He's inspiring me. He's almost like a role model to me. He may not ever know me. He may not even know that I look up to him, but I think it's really just the fact of knowing that, like,
people are always, like I said, but previously, people are always watching you, and you never know how that one interaction with somebody on campus, or that one interaction with the male, or just a conversation with somebody can impact them and spark something inside of them to become greater.
Definitely. Nate.
The idea of the PV man is a very interesting concept. I think it's changed a lot over the few years that I've been at Prairie View. And as Caleb touched on, with us coming in as freshmen, a lot of people, even that we saw then, may not be here anymore. The male matriculation is much lower than that, or should I say, the retention rate is much lower than that of the women on our campus, and that alone is an issue. But that's not something that is necessarily in our control. It's more so the idea of building those true bonds and relationships with your fellow PV men, and pushing yourselves as friends and as groups of individuals to keep achieving higher, whether that's through your education and your academics, or even your extracurricular activities, and getting involved in organizations and things of that nature.
Yeah, and you definitely touched on a good point, because when I think about some things that have helped me become that PV man here on campus, it's seeking out those mentors, right? Jumping in those organizations like Black, like Male, maybe a fraternity like you're in, Nate. Seeking that community of men that want to be great, just aligning yourselves with people of like-mindedness who see themselves in the future being successful. But Caleb, I wanted to come back to you, because when we think about that PV man, what is some advice that you can give some of those freshmen, some of those sophomores who are new to that PV campus, about how to move on campus, some things to do and what not to do?
All right, so probably one of the main things, the first number one thing is respect our women on campus. Respect not only the Prairie View women, but women everywhere, right? And I think that's...
Hold on, Caleb. I hate to interrupt, but say that one more time. Make sure they hear you.
Okay. Respect not only women, not only Prairie View women, but all women. Respect all women. It's not cool to go around and diss females or just treat them wrong. So I think that's honestly part of the stigma of a Prairie View man, right? And I just think when it comes to being a man, you have to be able to take accountability for your actions and take responsibility for what you are doing and the energy that you're putting out. So if I had to give a few more pieces of advice, remain you. Don't ever let anybody try to invalidate your feelings. Because as a male and as men, sometimes we're told that our emotions don't matter, our feelings don't exist, and we've heard all types of things, whether it's from family, friends. But just know that you as a male, you matter. And probably one of the last things is don't get complacent in where you're at. Keep pushing, keep striving, keep growing. There's never a point where you should be, whether it's in your collegiate career or even after you graduate, where you're like, okay, that's enough, that's it. You should always be trying to look for new ways to impact yourself, to not only encourage yourself, but also elevating yourself as well. So those are some key things that I think would, if I was a freshman now, some of the things that I would like to know.
That's good, man. And I told y'all earlier in the show to grab your nieces, your nephews, your aunties, and your uncles. But grab your son, grab your nephew again. Tell little John who wants to go to PV to write the notes down of what Mr. Caleb Leeper just said, because that's some valuable information that you just gave. Now, y'all were freshmen, and correct me if I'm wrong, in 2019, right before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. See, I'm a pandemic prodigy. I'm a part of that COVID class. Shout out class of 2024. We still out here doing our thing, but we kind of was robbed of that, full PV experience. So, and everything I hear is about old PV was better. Old PV, we don't do it like how they do it now. So, Nate, I'm going to give you the chance to shed some light on what old PV was like compared to what we go through now.
I'm not going to lie to you. None of even what we experienced could really be OPV, in my opinion. I've been coming to PV since a kid. My parents are both alums, so the first homecoming I ever came to was probably 2011 or 2012, and I feel like that's really the idea of OPV. And some of the stories I even heard when I was in 6th grade back then were crazy compared to what's going on now. I think the climate of the university has definitely changed. When we were freshmen, that was definitely the last probably idea of what old PV looked like before the pandemic hit, just because of all of the impacts that had on class structures, and just even social life on campus. But I don't think we're very far off. You know, it's always the issue of the increased usage of social media in our everyday lives on campus. But I think the idea of old PV more so surrounds the idea of the student body being a lot more active on campus and being outside more than just being in our rooms or in our apartments all the time and just walking around campus all day, walking around campus all day. You know, actually going to the pep rallies and filling up the basketball games, filling up the stadium for the football games. That's more so the idea of old PV, and that's something that we can definitely still get back to. It's just a matter of reintroducing that culture the right way.
Definitely. And Caleb, you would agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to get on my soapbox. I'll save that for a different time.
You going to the prom?
Yes. Yeah. Shout out PV-24. We doing big things. We finna have a prom. Don't get us twisted. You know, we was robbed of it during high school. You know, we was robbed of a graduation. But see, no, I don't want. I'm trying not to get started, Nick. I'm trying.
It's okay.
But speaking of that old PV, we have somebody who was a part of old PV and new PV. But sadly, her tenure has come to an abrupt ending. And I'm talking about our president, former president. I put that in air quotes because
she's still here. She's still working.
Exactly. I'm talking about Miss Ruth Simmons. And we don't know the inner workings behind what's all been going on between her and the TAMU system. But just noticing her from a different distance and seeing what everyone had to say about her, I mean, it was always glowing opinions about her philanthropy, her as a person, how she advocated for PV. And I mean, I've been able to be in her presence a few times, and I know that is something that I'm going to miss. So before we end off today, I kind of wanted to get you guys' opinion about her departure and kind of what she meant to y'all.
All right. Dr. Ruth J. Simmons was an absolutely amazing president. I know, like, from the time that I came in, it was Ruth the truth. And that's something that has stuck with me throughout my entire college career. And something that I want to really talk about that Ruth taught me specifically was 2022, I want to say the March honors convocation. And Ruth, she was giving a speech, and she said, I need 12 people or 13 people, however many people, to come up on stage. And I'm going to, well, she didn't even say that. She just said, I just need the first 12, 13 people who raised their hands, come down and get on stage to get on stage. We were in the Baby Dome at the time. And I'm like, you know, maybe, I don't know what she has planned, but I don't think I'm going to go. So I just sit back in my seat, right? And she gets up there, and all the people, the people that she called get up there, the people that went up there got up there. And she's like, well, for each of you who have came out today and who have decided to get on stage, I'm going to give you $1,000. Everybody's jaw dropped at this point. And we're like, $1,000? Like, we want $1,000 too. But what it taught me was sometimes opportunities will present ourselves. Opportunities will present themselves to us. And we may look at it as, well, I'm not really sure if I want to do that. I'm not really sure if that's something I'm interested in. I don't know what's going to come out of it. But you never know until you try for it. You never know until you actually step in it and say, okay, well, this is something that I'm going to do. That day, I missed out on $1,000, but it also taught me a lesson of, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to do something if somebody's asking you to do it. Because, you know, you never know. It could be your next blessing or your next opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, and Nate, real quick before you go, about that $1,000, man, that hurts me to this day. Because when I tell y'all, when she said, can we get some students from each section to come up, I like felt the nerves in my feet tell me to move, but I was like, I'm just not gonna do it. You know, I'm like, I'm kind of comfortable where I'm at. And then next thing I know, I'm missing out on $1,000. Man, that hurt me to the day. But Nate, go ahead. I mean, talk about Dr. Simmons and what she meant to you.
Well, I like to say what she means to me. Dr. Ruth Simmons is still here with us, and she's still working. She means a lot to me, though. But you know, she's definitely one of the best mentors I've been able to get in touch with since I've been at Prairie View. You know, I've gotten to know her a lot more this school year, working with her directly, but even just watching her from a distance before I came to the university and once I became a student here, she's always just been an extremely commendable individual to talk to. She's extremely comedic, one of the funniest people I've ever met. and she will never hold her tongue about anything, and that's exactly why she has decided to resign. Quite honestly, I was able to have a pretty in-depth conversation with her earlier this week to talk about why she's resigning. And I'm not gonna lie, I tried to get her to stick around. I tried to get her to change her mind, but after she really explained everything to me, I understand why she came to this decision, and I have to respect that. But I'm gonna miss her a lot. We're trying to see if hopefully she can still sign our degrees, because that's one of the things that we're all gonna be missing out on. We already knew she was gonna be leaving at the end of this school year, but she just upped the timeline a little bit for a few reasons. But I'm gonna miss Ruth for sure. I think the biggest thing that she wants everybody to know is that she still cares about the university no matter what, and she's still going to be around. She's still going to support and advocate for Prairie View and its students until the day that she dies, and that's a direct quote. So, Ruth will still be around y'all for sure.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to miss Dr. Simmons, and we're all rooting for our new president, Dr. Tamikia LaGrange, but it's something to be said about history and precedents and everything that Dr. Ruth Simmons did here at Prairie View and what she's going to do at Rice University. But she will definitely be missed, and had to take a deep breath for a minute. But thank you guys again for joining us today. I mean, it was more than a pleasure. I said it again. I said it once. I'll say it again. When this show was given to me, and I was told that it's more of a male-oriented show, it was two people instantly in my mind who I wanted to have as guests, and that was you, Nathaniel Hall, and you, Mr. Caleb Leeper. Thank you guys again for joining me today. It's been more than a pleasure talking with you guys. Do you guys have any last words before we close? No pressure.
I just say to the men of Prairie View, just continue to strive, and always reach out to any of us on this stage, and just connect with each other for real. We have to make sure that we uphold each other and make sure that everyone succeeds as the PV man and just as a man in general. Everything and the work of being a man continues outside of the university, and it's going to be important for us as men to lead this country, to lead the Black community, to lead our respective cities, and whatever else the case may be.
And I would just like to add on to that. Remain true to who you are. Never let anybody invalidate your feelings, because your feelings are valid as a male. And just continue to keep striving, continue to keep pushing. You matter. So
Thank you guys for those last words. I think that really is going to resonate with the audience. And thank you guys again for joining me. That is Mr. Nathaniel Hall. This has been Mr. Caleb Leeper, the SGA president, and Mr. Prairie View, respectively. I'm Caleb Carter, and this has been It's About Time. Thanks for watching.